All right, let's get this party started. Unit 12, financing. Financing is a big role. Like 85% of all homes get financing. Very few gets cash. So part of the deal that you're going to know is have to understand financing and at least be able to communicate the basics to your client. Now, I'm a big proponent of letting people do what they do best. So typically, you're going to take your guy to your mortgage person and say, hey, tell him. But in the beginning, you guys are probably going to have to explain to them or at least understand when he comes to you and goes, well, I need an FHA loan or I need a USDA loan or whatever so that you can get the basics of the idea, especially when you're doing the buyer side. So this chapter, we're going to talk about all the factors that contribute to the housing affordability. We're going to talk about how people afford houses. Once again, more terms that we're going to talk about that you guys are going to need to know. We're going to talk about all of the roles and rights and obligations of what we call the note. Then we're going to get into various types of financing, some of the very common financing. We'll talk about foreclosure, and we're going to talk about some of the protection that homeowners have. So, on page 208, let's get started. Home ownership's down. There in the book, they give a statistic of like 69.2% of all people own homes. And of those 62, 85% finance. Okay, very few people pay with cash. But it is very important for you to understand, and we've touched on this earlier, one of your jobs may be to talk a person out of buying. All right? You may sit down with your client and get started and then all of a sudden find out, hey, you're not a buyer. All right? I know that seems counterintuitive that you're talking yourself out of money, so to speak. But if they're truly not able, what's worse, telling them now and pulling the Band-Aid off or showing them 30 or 40 houses and find out they can't get a loan? All right? So we're going to show you some shortcuts and maybe some tricks that you might even pre-qualify your buyer before you even take them to the lender and go, hey, dude, not yet. I'd love to work with you, but you ain't it. All right? So talking someone out of being a homeowner may be one of your jobs. You know, ultimately it's going to boil down to them. If they're like, no, I want to do this, okay. Then you have a decision of, well, not with me, you're not. Or I'll, try and work with you or something like that and get started. So, talking someone out of being a homeowner, I've done several times. Hey, we can work on your credit. We can show you how to get help. Let me give you to a lender that actually does credit repair. Or you need to save up money or you got too much debt. Things like that. Sell some of that stuff off. So let's get started with mortgage terms. At the very beginning of this book, I told you there are words we use that we understand differently than consumers. Mortgage people do the same thing. And therefore, you need to understand what they're saying so that you can help him or her translate to your client what they just really said. Goes back to that commercial, what is it, a Geico commercial? Where they say something and the client goes, huh? And then that guy steps in and goes, what he said is he's going to cut your hair and make you look fabulous. All right? That might be kind of your job. So some of the terms we want to talk about, we're going to talk about Federal Housing Administration, FHA. We're going to talk about USDA, VA, all of these stuff. The first word that they touch on, or the first anagram there in the book, is called a PITI. P-I-T-I. It's called a PITI because it's a pity you have to make it. All right? P-I-T-I stands for principal and interest. T stands for taxes, and they mean real estate taxes here, not like income taxes or anything like that. And the last I is insurance. These are your homeowner's insurance. All right? Have you guys ever heard the word escrowed? When someone says, my payments are escrowed, what that means is they are making a pity payment. Escrowed is a separate bank account that your lender will place into that account for you the portion of your, finger quotes, house payment that goes to taxes and a portion that goes to the insurance, so that on tax day or insurance day, you don't go, I'm broke, dude. The bank's going to say, hey, don't worry, we got your back. For the last 12 months, you've been paying into your escrow account. We will pay your real estate taxes for you because we love you so much. No, that's not the reason. You'll see the reason why. All right? And when your insurance comes due, oh, I'm broke, don't worry, you have been paying into your insurance escrow account for the last 12 months, so we will pay your homeowner's insurance for you. For example, a lot of people say, oh, well, my house payment's $900. Well, is your payment escrowed? Yeah, that's a escrow pity payment. Oh, so what that really means, and I'm making numbers up, that your principal and interest is $750, taxes is $100, $50 goes to your insurance. But people see that $900 as their house payment. That's my house payment. Okay? As long as you understand, I know, and you guys now know, that you're making a pity payment. So a portion of that $900 goes to an escrow account for taxes, and a portion goes to an escrow account for insurance. So when someone says my payments are escrowed, then you know out of the gate, oh, you're making a pity payment, and they're protecting you. All right? Most of the time, if you borrow more than 80% of the value of the home, the bank is going to force you to pay into those escrow accounts. Now, a lot of people like those escrow accounts too, mainly because look at it like a forced savings account. All right? My brother's real big on this. He likes it because that way he doesn't have to plop down $1,900 at tax time. All right? Doesn't have to plop. He's got it all paid. So let's talk about the ownership and how you can afford a house. In the process of financing, there are usually three things they look at. In your book, it's not written out as well as it should be, but let's talk about it. So the first thing they're going to look at is you individually. That bottom paragraph where it starts out credit score, that's number one. The number one way that lenders judge you is on this thing called a credit score. And the credit score ranges from 350 to 900. And there are all kinds of people that say, well, it's 400 to 850. Just realize it's that very low to very high. All right? That is what they call your FICO score. Your FICO score. I need my old book. In your FICO score stands for the Fair Isaacs Company. Leslie, is my old textbook back there? The 19th edition. I got my notes in it. Yeah, I need my. I see it. Your credit score is based off the FICO score. Now that I'm back, I'm sure the people at home are going, what the hell is he doing? He's roaming around. The FICO score is based on 5 elements. And if I were you, I'd write these down. Oh, there we go. Had to get my notes out. I forgot to translate them to the new system. So your FICO score is how your credit is rated, all right? 350 to 900, somewhere around in there. Your FICO score is created by 5 elements. There are 5 elements. The number one and the most important element is your payment history. Your payment history is like 35% of your FICO score. That's the big one. You want no late payments. That's the best judgment, is the history of how you've been making payments. It's like 35%. So if you're at home, start writing this down. The second biggest one is utilization. Do you actually use your credit? It's 30%. So you can well see 65% of your score is based on just 2 things. Have you made your payment, and do you actually use credit? If you've got a credit card you've not used in a while, you probably should use it. You know, don't go crazy and buy a Ferrari. Buy a computer or a TV or something, then you can pay it off. That shows that you know how to handle and understand credit. Your history shows that you know how because you've been making payments. The third one is the length of your credit. How long have you had one? It's like 15%. There are people who, oh, I've had this a long time, I should close it. No, you shouldn't really close it. Keep it open and use it. What you are trying to prove is that you understand what credit is and that you are adult enough to handle it. New credit, has anybody issued you any new credit lately? That's 10%. And then the last is your credit mix, 10%. Credit mix means there are open-ended loans and closed-ended loans. An open-ended loan is what you would think most of us would call like a revolving, like a Visa card. You've got a balance, you put something on it, you pay it, you got the balance back. A closed-end loan is like a car loan. You pay for it, when it's done, they close it. They want to see that you know how to handle both. All right? So that's all your credit score does, is check your ability to handle credit. So when you go for a loan, the most important thing, or the first thing they will look at to see if you're worthy, is your credit score. Okay? Let's change audio.